Today we will start the next part of the chapter 9th of biology, that is transport. And today we will talk about the transport in humans and how the process of the movement of materials, the movement of blood takes place inside the humans. The first thing about the humans is blood. So what does the blood consist of? As you can see through the example, the word blood is divided into the two or main parts. That is, the upper one is the plasma, then the red blood cells, and here the small strip of white blood cells are also present. This plasma actually contains the water, ions, proteins, nutrients, waste materials, gases. The red blood cells, as these are the heaviest particles, so they settle down at the bottom, while the platelets are present in the center. The white blood cells and platelets both are present in the center. So the blood plasma, it actually is primarily in with the water, salts, metabolites are present. In water is about 90 to 92%, while all the other dissolved substances are 8 to 10%. Then if we talked about the blood cells and cell bodies, it contains the three types of blood. That is the red blood cells, white blood cells, and the platelets. Red blood cells, which are also called as erythrocytes, these are 4 to 4.5 million in females and 5 to 5.5 million in the males. Main function of the blood is to carry the oxygen. It is actually the biconcave shape. You can see that it is from the both sides, it is concave, so it is called as the biconcave disc. So essentially the bags of hemoglobin forms the few organelles, and it has no nucleus, so it is called as anucleate. Contributing to the blood viscosity, it makes the blood viscous, and it contains the plasma membrane, protein spectrum, and other proteins as well. Along with this, 5% of the cytoplasm of red blood cells is filled with the hemoglobin, and this hemoglobin is actually involved in transport of oxygen and also the small amount of carbon dioxide. The average lifespan of red blood cell is about 4 months, after which it breaks down into liver and spleen by phagocytosis. Next thing is about the leukocyte. If we talked about learning the composition, the main composition trick, what is it actually made up of? It is made up of the 5 different components. To remember it, which are the neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. So to remember this, to remember the name of all these, we have to learn this statement: never let me eat bananas. N for neutrophils, L for lymphocytes, M for monocytes, E for eosinophils, and B for the basophils. Neutrophils are about 60% in the present inside the white blood cells. Lymphocytes are about 30%, monocytes are 6%, eosinophils are 3%, while the basophils are 1%. So we can say that these neutrophils are actually destroy the small particles by phagocytosis. The role of eosinophils is to break the inflammatory substances and kill the parasite. Basophils prevent the blood clotting, so it has the different functions. Agranulocytes have the clear cytoplasm, and it includes the monocytes and lymphocytes. The monocytes is, as you know, 6% present and produce the macrophages, which engulf the germ, while lymphocytes are 30%, and it is of two types, that is B and T lymphocytes, and produce the antibodies and also kill the germs. The next thing is about the platelets, which are also called as the thrombocytes. They are not the cells, but are actually the fragments of the large cells present in the bone marrow. So thrombo actually means the clot, and cyte means the cells. These are just 2 to 4 micrometer in size, and they are spherical or oval discoid shape. Its volume is 5.8 micrometer cube, and the color, it has no color. The average lifespan of the platelet is 7 to 8 days, and it helps in the blood clotting. The clot, in case of any temporary damage, in case of any sort of injury, the damaged area can be repaired through the platelets. The next thing we will talk about is the blood disorders. Blood disorders, there are many, but here we will talk about the 2 main disorders, which is, the first one is leukemia. Leukemia is what? It is actually the production of great number of immature and abnormal blood cells, and it is caused by the cancerous mutation in bone. Mutation is actually change in any sort of change in the gene. Then this mutation results in the uncontrolled production of defective white blood cells, and these white blood cells lead to the leukemia. So this figure, this is the bone marrow. We take this in which the hematopoietic stem cells are present. These these hematopoietic stem cells are myeloid stem cells and lymphoid stem cells. These myeloid stem cells is abnormal growth of myeloid white blood cells, while the lymphoid stem cells are abnormal growth of lymphoid white blood cells. And these abnormal growth of these white blood cells can cause the blood cancer. It is a very serious disorder, and patient need to change the blood regularly with normal blood that can be got from the donors, and it can be used by bone marrow cured by the bone marrow transplant, and it is effective in both cases but very expensive treatment. The next one is the thalassemia. Here you can see in this example, these are the neutrophils, red blood cells, monocytes, and platelets. Here is the leukemia cells, and these leukemia cells, their growth is exceeding in case of the leukemia, while here this is the normal blood. Okay, the next thing is about thalassemia. Thalassemia is also called as the Cooley's anemia. Because of the person who discovered it, whose name was Thomas B. Cooley, who was an American physician. It is a genetic problem, and it is due to the mutations in the gene of hemoglobin. So the myeloid cells are red blood cells are produced in the large numbers. This one is the normal red blood cells, and you can see in case of thalassemia, the red blood cells, their shape is changed, and the mutation results in the production of the defective hemoglobin, and the patient cannot transport oxygen properly. As a result, the thalassemia will occur, and it can only be cured by the bone marrow transplant, but it does not be 100% curable. Then the next topic is about the blood group system. There are 4 blood groups: Group A, Group B, Group AB, and Group O. Because of the presence or absence of antibodies and antigens, we can find out that which sort of group we lie. So if the antibodies in the plasma, antibody B is present in the plasma, and antigens in A is present there, that means the person is having the blood group A, means the antigen is representing the blood group. If there is B antigen, that means the anti-A antibodies are present. Anti-A antibodies are actually killing the anti-B antibodies, and as a result, the person will have the blood group B. In case both the antibodies are not present, that means both the antigens are present, and we can what we get the blood group AB. Because both antigens are present, that means both blood groups are present. But in some cases, both the antibodies are present, antibody A and antibody B both are present, so that means there is no antigen, and when there is no antigen, the blood group will be the blood transfusion is actually the process of transferring blood or blood-based product from one person into the circulatory system of the other person. So transfusion of blood is done after confirming the agglutination, that there is no clumping of the blood will happen in the person who is taking the blood. So, and if the agglutination occurs, the clump cells cannot pass through the capillaries, and obviously it causes the major problems. So antibodies of the recipient bloods maybe destroy the corresponding antigen containing red blood cells. Through this figure, you can come to know that if a person is having blood type A, so the safe transfusion is from A and AB to blood group A or O. Then B blood group is towards B and AB from B and O. AB person can take blood from all the blood groups, while O blood group can take blood only from O blood group. Right? This is the safe transfusion. Otherwise, the agglutination will occur in case of the any other type of blood will be given. The other one is RH blood group system. RH blood group system is actually discovered by Carol Landsteiner. And in this, he found that there is the blood in which another factor is present, which he named as the RH factor, and this is given the name RH factor because it was first time discovered in the rhesus monkey. And they find that there is a factor which is present on the blood cells, which is named as the RH factor. So a person who is having this RH factor is having the blood group positive, while those who don't have this RH factor will be given the name RH negative. So in case of this transfusion, that what happened, that RH positive blood obviously can be transfused to the RH positive recipient because the recipient blood already has the antigen, so there is no problem if we give the same blood to that person. But RH negative donor can get blood only from the RH negative person. We cannot transfuse in the blood of the positive person because as there are no antigens, RH antigens present there. In case we transfuse the same blood in that person, that means we are giving the RH factor that, and it will also call the agglutination in the blood. So from this figure you come to know that O negative can be given to all the blood groups, while it can receive the blood only from the O negative. O positive can be given to all the positive persons along with O negative and O positive person. A negative can be given to the positive and negative both, while it can get the blood only from O negative and A negative. A positive can be given to A positive and AB positive and A positive, while taken from the O negative, O positive, A negative, A positive. In the same way, B can be given to B negative, B positive, AB negative, AB positive, but can be taken from O negative and B negative. So this way we can say that the negative person can take the blood only from the negative person, but positive blood can take the blood from both the negative and positive. The next topic is about the human heart. What is the structure of human heart, how it works. So the movement of or anything that is related to the blood is called as a cardia. So the word cardia is used for the heart. Here we will discuss the structure of the heart. Heart is mainly composed in a sac-like structure which is called as the pericardium, and there is a fluid which is called as the pericardial fluid that is present between the pericardium and the heart walls. And the reason of this fluid is that it reduces the friction present between the pericardium and heart during heart contractions. So human heart consists of the 4 chambers. The first one is right atrium, other one is right ventricle, the left atrium and the left ventricle. After this, the heart actually works as a double pump mechanism. Double pump means if it is receiving the blood from in the right atrium, it is also giving the blood to all the other parts of the body, and at the same time it is receiving and transporting the blood to all the other parts. So the right atrium actually receives the deoxygenated blood from body through the main veins, which is called as the superior vena cava, and the inferior vena cava. When right atrium contracts, it passes the deoxygenated blood to the right ventricle. From the right atrium to the right ventricle it moves. Here the tricuspid valves are present, which is actually the 3 flaps, and it does not allow the movement of blood backward towards the article. So when right ventricle contracts, the blood is passed to the pulmonary trunk. When this right ventricle is contract, it passes to the pulmonary trunk through the pulmonary artery, and it also stops. There are also some valves are present here which stops the backflow of the blood. Then the oxygenated blood that comes from the lungs is brought by pulmonary veins to the left atrium. Here it goes towards the left atrium. From left atrium it moves towards the left ventricle. This left ventricle and right ventricle have the small valve that is called as the bicuspid valve. When left ventricle contracts, it pumps the oxygenated blood to the aorta. And here it is aorta, and through the aorta it is passed through, it moves towards the arteries and then to the upper body parts, and at the base of the aorta there is an aortic semilunar valve is present, and it actually prevents the backflow of blood from aorta to the left ventricle. So this is the structure. There are some pulmonary veins present. This is the pulmonary artery. Here also the pulmonary veins are present. This is the right atrium. Tricuspid walls are here. Right ventricle is here. This is the inferior vena cava, and it is taking blood from the lower body part and moving towards the heart. Then what is the pulmonary circulation? Pulmonary circulation is actually we see that the right side of the heart collects the deoxygenated blood from body and distributed to the lungs, while the left cells contains left part of the body contains the deoxygenated blood. Left side collects the oxygenated blood from lungs and distributed to the body. So the pathway on which deoxygenated blood is carried from heart to lungs, and in return oxygenated blood is carried from lungs to heart, is called as the pulmonary circulation. Similarly, the pathway on which oxygenated blood is carried from heart to the body and from body to the heart is called as the systematic circulation. This is the whole procedure. This is the pulmonary. These are the pulmonary arteries in blue, and these are the systematic arteries in the red, and it is giving blood to the whole body, and it is taking back it from body to the heart. So the next thing is about the heartbeat. What is the heartbeat? There is the arterial systole, arterial diastole, ventricular systole, and ventricular diastole. So the relaxation of the heart chambers fill the blood with heart with the blood, and contraction propels the blood out of them. So the alternating relaxation and contraction of the blood is called as the cardiac cycle. Let's take a start from this point, that here the ventricular diastole is taking place. The blood is entering into the heart. Then there is a ventricular filling of blood. After that, it will move towards the arteries, and it is called as arterial. From arteries to the ventricles, it is called as arterial contraction or arterial systole. After arterial systole, the blood moves from the ventricles to the other parts. The ventricular contraction occurs. So this is called as the ventricular systole. So if we shortly talked about it, what is it about? That artery and ventricular relax and blood is filled in arteria. This is called as a cardiac diastole. After their filling, both arteria contract and pump blood to the ventricles. This is called as arterial systole. And the time when the ventricular contraction occurs is called as the ventricular systole. The one heartbeat diastole lasts about 0.4 seconds. Ventricular systole lasts about 0.3 seconds. So when ventricles contract, the tricuspid and bicuspid valves close and produces the sound lub. And similarly, when ventricles relax, the semilunar valves gets closed and the sound dub is produced. That is why it is being said that the lub dub sound is being heard by the stethoscope when we hear the heartbeat. The next topic is about the blood vessels. There are three types of blood vessels: arteries, capillaries, and veins. Artery take blood from the heart, passes it to the body. Capillaries connect the arteries to the veins, and veins bring the blood from the whole body towards the heart. Here is the structure of the blood vessels. There is a center which contains the wall. This is called as the tunica interna, that is center part. Then the innermost layer. Then this is the middle layer. It is called as tunica media. Then the last one is the tunica externa. This is the vein and the artery. The only difference among the vein and artery is that the valves of the artery are thicker than that of the veins. And here is the capillaries. Capillaries are smaller and thin, and it only contains the epithelial layers. The next thing is about the human circulatory system. The human circulatory system, how it works, that it consists of the arterial system and the venous system. The arterial system, from here we say that there is a large pulmonary trunk that emerges from the right ventricle and divides into the right and left pulmonary arteries, which carry the deoxygenated blood to the right and left lungs. So the oxygenated blood leaving the left ventricle of the heart is carried in a large artery, that is the aorta, as we already talked about it in the structure of the heart. It ascends from an aortic arch. Here is the aortic arch present. Aortic arch is present. From here the blood is moving towards the head and towards the shoulder, right? Then there is a dorsal aorta also present. From here the it gives off many branches, and the important ones are listed, which as you can see is the intercostal arteries are present. Then the celiac artery, superior mesenteric artery. Here is the superior mesenteric artery, ulnar artery, where the blood is provided to the ulna, radial artery towards the radial part, then the portal, hepatic, inferior. We'll discuss it them one by one. So the inferior to these, there are the pair of renal arteries. Renal arteries, the word rena is used for the kidneys, so the artery that is providing blood to the kidneys is called as the renal artery. Then the next one is about the gonadal artery. The blood is provided to the gonads through the gonadal arteries. Then the other one is about the inferior mesenteric artery, which supplies blood to the part of the large intestine and also into the rectum. So the aorta divides into the two common iliac arteries. Here are this one is the iliac artery. It is divided into two main parts. The one is each external iliac artery becomes the femoral artery in the upper thigh, and it gives branches to the thigh, knee, shank, ankle, and the foot. So if we start it the same process from the opposite side, the blood is being collected from the femoral vein. Then from femoral vein it moves towards the renal vein, then renal vein to the splenic vein, then also the gonadal vein is the blood is collected from there as well. Then it also further moves towards the hepatic portal vein, and as a result the blood from the whole body is collected and reaches to the heart. This makes the whole venous system of the blood. That means that arteries are giving blood to the whole body, spreading it to the whole body, and from the whole blood, after the transport of the oxygen, the whole blood is collected and come back to the heart through the vein, and that is called as the venous system. The next is about the cardiovascular disorders. There are two major cardiovascular disorders. One is the atherosclerosis or arteriosclerosis, in which what happened is that in case of there is a narrowing of arteries actually, and this narrowing of artery is because of the deposition of lipids, calcium, cellular debris. You can see in this figure that this is the endothelium. This is normal human artery from where the blood is passing. These are the smooth muscles present. But if there is the debris is present there, the lipids, calcium, cellular debris is being deposited, the macrophage is transformed into the foam cells, and smooth muscles gets broken down. It causes the narrowing of the artery. The main endothelium gets damaged, and as a result it will be difficult for the blood to flow from the arteries, and it also, this deposited part is also called as the plaque that is present within the arteries, and plaque can form the blood clots which are called as thrombus, and if thrombus dislodges and becomes free floating, it is called as the embolus. So it is harmful for the body, as it is a main hurdle for the circulation of blood. The other one is the myocardial infarction. Myocardial infarction is derived from the word myocardium, that means the heart muscle, and infarction means the tissue death. So it is a most common reason of the heart attack is this myocardial infarction, when the blood supply to the part of heart is interrupted. Like you can see that the blood that is passing and reaches towards the heart there is the deposition of different material, that can be the calcium, that can be the plaque can be formed or anything, it causes the blood to pass through the arteries and not in the normal way, and causes the narrowing of the arteries. So due to this, there is a severe chest pain may occur, and we can feel the sensation of tightness, the pressure, squeezing, and the pain radiates most commonly in the left arm, but may also radiate to the lower jaw, and loss of the conscious and even sudden death can occur because of this myocardial infarction, because the blood can't reaches to the heart and the working of the heart is interrupted. This is all about the transport, the method of transport in the humans. I hope everything will be clear to you. Thank you so much.